Reddit is back for a historically hideous season.
It's our 100th ugly house. This place is mayhem. That is impressive.
And if these walls could talk,
Do you cry a lot?
I do.
they'd have a lot to say.
What in God's name is this pit?
Don't get too close.
You know, if you've seen the show, I'm a scaredy cat.
Ugliest House in America, season premiere, Wednesday, January 7th at 8 on HGTV.
Vitamin Water Zero Sugar has great taste, zero BS, and obviously zero sugar. For those with zero room in their calendar, zero patience for slow walkers, those who get 0 hours of sleep on a Saturday night, have zero filter, zero given, and zero interest in grabbing a plain, boring water. Grab a delicious Vitamin Water Zero Sugar today.
Hi, and welcome to the 10-Minute Food Truck Training Podcast. My name is Bill Moore. I'm the Executive Director of the National Street Food Vendors Association, which is a nonprofit dedicated to education, advocacy, and uplifting all food vendors. Today, we're going to be talking about equipment and should you or should you not push your equipment flush against the walls. This question came up just a few days ago, and the question was, I'm building my first food truck. I have so many questions, but today's question is, do the cooking appliances need a gap between them and the wall? There's stainless steel sheets on the wall, and it would look much cleaner and save a little bit of space if I push them flush against the wall. But I'm concerned it will be too hot. The walls of the truck are made with foam-filled fiberglass. Okay, good details there. I like that because there are a couple of different ways you can answer that depending upon the construction. So let's talk about specifically what you can and can't do. The short answer, probably not the way you're thinking. So here's the quick version. No, you shouldn't push the hot cooking equipment tight against the wall in a food truck. But a couple of caveats. You want to check the manufacturer's installation instructions. That's the most important thing, because you don't want to ruin the equipment as much as you don't want to burn down your food truck or food trailer. And if the instructions don't give you clear answers, ask your fire marshal or the fire inspector. Ask them what their expectation is, because they can help you. That's what they're there to do. They are a resource, not somebody for you to avoid. Now, when someone says the walls are stainless, well, that's true and not true. The outside could be stainless. Like in mine, it's aluminum. We have white aluminum. I like the clean look of the white aluminum. You can notice dirt right away. You can notice grease right away. But I like how it makes us look very, very clean. I'm not a big fan of gray, for example. That seems to be a popular color for some people. Gray already looks dull and dingy. No matter how clean it is, gray implies dull and dingy. So I like either white or the bare metal. So stainless is going to have that silvery color, which again can look very clean if you treat it right. But the wall is not just that stainless. It's a stainless skin that's on top of, in this case, foam-filled fiberglass. It could be on top of wood and then foam-filled fiberglass. And that's typically going to be treated as combustible. Even though it may be fire retardant, it's not fireproof. There's a difference. Stainless steel looks tough and it's industrial, but it is not magic fire armor. It still conducts heat. So whatever's behind it is going to get that heat conducted to it. So if it's stainless steel on top of wood, for example, it's going to conduct every bit of that heat straight back to that wood. So if you put a hot appliance like a griddle, a charbroiler, a fryer, even just a range or an oven tight up against it with no clearance, no air gap, what you're basically building is a heat sandwich. So you have appliance directly against stainless steel, directly against the foam, and that's going to equal trouble. And the inspector, the fire marshal, even insurance companies, they don't like surprise toasted foam sandwiches. We had a restaurant a number of years ago. It had been a restaurant building for probably 20 years by the time we got into it. And we start to, demolish it like you see on Restaurant Impossible. So we're demolishing the kitchen and looking at the foam that's behind the walls where an oven was, going, why didn't this thing catch on fire? Because the foam, even though it's fire retardant, was all melted, and I'm talking the insulation. So it's all melted and crinkled, and like this was hot and it could have ignited at some point had it gotten just a little bit hotter. So that sight unseen stuff behind that pretty stainless, it may be smoldering, it may be showing little buildup of char, and that's scary. So here are the three voices that you must listen to, besides me. So 4 technically. Anyway, You got to listen to the manufacturer of the piece of equipment. They have an installation manual. Follow it. There's going to be some section or some paragraph that will talk about clearances or clearances to combustibles, something along those lines to let you know how far it should be from its neighboring components around it, but then also the wall behind it. It could say 6 inches from combustible walls. It could say 0 inches with factory installed rear shields. Could say 2 inches with approved heat shield. Any combination of those. Now, most food truck owners are cheap and they're not going to go for expensive heat shields. They're not going to go for other things that'll help protect their investment because they're trying to just get the thing set up, get the thing open. So you want to follow what the book says, because you have a fire and the insurance company is going to look for a reason not to pay you, and there's an improper installation, there's a reason not to pay you. So if you're unclear after checking the voice from the manufacturer, then you got to check the voice from your food code, from your fire code, your fire inspector, your fire marshal, whatever they call it in your area. You got to ask them. Even if the manufacturer says 0 clearance, you want to ask that local authority, the one that's going to be inspecting you, and they might say, well, in a food truck, we want an air gap, with good reason. You want to be able, number one, to clean behind it, which fire department doesn't care about, but they also want to make sure that you have the ability to turn off or turn on the propane, for example. Mobile units are tighter, they're much hotter, and they're more confined than in buildings. So in some jurisdictions, especially where there's lots of food trucks, they have stricter expectations for the food trucks than they do the brick and mortar. And it's not because they hate us, it's because they are sick and tired of every single week somebody catching on fire. Most of the fires are preventable, and they're just tired of it. So they're making the rules harder because of people that are careless. The other voice you need to listen to, the third voice, is the insurance company. If there's ever a fire, and I alluded to this a minute ago, they will determine if the equipment was installed against the manufacturer's instructions or if it was too close to a combustible wall in accordance with the local fire codes. If they find either one of those two things out of whack, they will deny your claim. And unless you have very deep pockets and can get an attorney to take the case, you're going to be out your investment, or they will offer you a little teeny tiny amount just to make you go away. Here's 10 grand, go away. Now, how do I know that? Been dealing with insurance companies a long, long time. So before you get into that space-saving decision, you want to make sure that all of those voices are aligned. The manufacturer, the fire inspector, and the insurance. All of those voices are aligned. If they're not, you're going to have a problem if you do have a fire. Now let's talk about why those inspectors don't like it flush against the wall. Well, there's really two things to worry about. One is heat and fire risk. That's an obvious thing. Stuff gets hot, okay, transfers heat, catch on fire. But then there's also grease spills. No matter how careful you are, you're going to have a grease spill. And now you have a little bit of fuel to create a flame or a fire. And it does happen. Over time, those air gaps allow grease buildup, which now you have a fuel source. It's right next to heat. And then right behind that wall is a combustible material like a foam or framing or wiring. All of those things can contribute to a little flame that becomes a big flame. And of course, the cleanability and accessibility. I've taken over restaurants where no one bothered to move the fryers that were on wheels. Now, in a food truck, we try to make sure stuff doesn't roll. And part of making sure stuff doesn't roll also makes it really, really hard for us to pull it out and move it. I've seen so many builders, cheap builders, that will use L brackets everywhere to hold the wheels in place. So now you got to lift it up over that L bracket and then drop it and then wheel it. And then you got to lift it up for the back wheels. That's a lot of work in a very tight space. It becomes very scary if you allow buildup, because that buildup is fuel source, especially between fryers. I want to remind you guys that stainless steel or aluminum or any kind of metal, even if it's FRP, which is fire resistant paneling, it's a shield. That's all that it is. It's not a superpower. It will not immediately negate every possible transfer of heat. All it does is give you the opportunity to keep things clean, to keep things safe, but it still will transfer that heat. So in most food trucks, the wall assembly is going to be something like this. You have that interior metal, aluminum or stainless. Then you're going to have the substrate or an adhesive that's holding it to the next piece, which could be just simple paneling, wood paneling, or it could be foam, it could be fiberglass core. then you have the exterior shell. So you have a sandwich of your walls. And then within those walls, there could be wiring, there could be plumbing, there could be propane pipes. So you have a complicated interior to the walls that you may not be aware of. So that shield helps control the heat, but it doesn't prevent the heat from moving to those other items. That's why the manufacturer is going to recommend the air gap. Got to keep you safe. Got to keep your investment safe. Now, if your thought is, well, I need the space, I need those 2 inches, or in some cases, I need those 6 inches, there are smarter ways for you to regain the space. Because if you're thinking, I'm losing 3 to 6 inches, that's going to make the aisleway more narrow. It's going to put the cook's line that much closer to the serving line, the serving area. So instead of figuring out a way to cheat those clearances, just get creative with your layout. So you have to think about the layout and how people are going to work within that layout. Sometimes you have to sacrifice equipment to make sure that you got the space, because the humans are what matters. You will get tired really quickly of running into each other. So if you're in the middle of building right now, what should you do? What makes the most sense for you? Pull the manuals. If you don't have the manuals, look them up online. Find out what that clearance is required. Sketch your layout with your clearances marked to make sure that it makes sense for you. I recommend to people, and a lot of people recommend this, draw it out on your driveway, on your patio, tape it out on your basement floor, use chalk and draw it. What's this going to look like when you're in operation? Can 2 human beings actually stand back to back and not be in each other's way? If you want to create a high volume unit, you're going to have people working it. If you're only interested in working part-time and making a little bit of money for some goal that you have, that's awesome. Then you can cheat the clearances, but expect to be low volume. And when I say cheat the clearances, what I mean is you're going to have a little bit slimmer of an aisleway, knowing that you'll never have 2 people working back to back. Make sure that you talk to your fire inspector, the fire marshal, and then of course make sure you talk to your insurance people. Talk to the claims adjuster to say, hey, look, I hope I never have to meet you in real life. So help me to understand, if I do have to meet you in real life, your job becomes easier to approve my claim. And then of course you got to plan for your own cleaning access so you don't upset the health department. So just build it right. Follow the rules and regulations that the manufacturer suggests, that the fire inspector suggests, certainly the health department, and then involve your insurance company. You don't want surprises. And yes, all of this takes a little bit of time. But if you invest the time now, you won't have to be worried if you do have to file that claim, whether it's going to get paid or not, or whether you're contributing to somebody maybe getting hurt. It is no fun to have to run out of a food truck when you realize, oh crap, it's on fire and I can't put it out. Thank you guys so much for listening to the 10-Minute Food Truck Training Podcast. If you're finding everything helpful that we do, please consider subscribing. If you love what we do, show some support. There's a link in the description to make that happen. Until next time, you guys have a profit.
Ever spend all day fishing and catch nothing? That's what happens to hackers when Cisco Duo's on watch. Every login, every device, every user, protected. Cisco Duo. Fishing season is over. Learn more at duo.com.
Profitable day.